All right. Mr. H, can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you spending some time with us and being willing to spend time with us this week. I know you have a very busy schedule, so we appreciate you taking the time to do so. And first off, congratulations on having both William and Kyle in the championship for this weekend. We wish you guys the best of luck. We're going to go ahead and go to questions from the media. We're going to take as many questions as we can in the time that we have. And if you have a question, a friendly reminder to the media on the call to please just raise your hand or use the chat to get in contact with me if you're having trouble with the hand raise option. So to kick us off, we're going to go to Jenna Fryer. Jenna, go ahead with your question for Rick.
Thank you, P1. Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Hey, Jenna, how are you?
Good. I'm curious. You and I have talked a lot about William and his work ethic, and just how much he puts into it. Knowing all that, did you ever have any doubt on Sunday that he was going to make it into the Final Four?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Well, Sunday I did. Yeah. I mean, that was a nail biter. He's won that race before, and we've been so good at Martinsville, and that was a struggle. And it was just it was a tough race. And as it played out, once we could see that probably the 12 was going to win, and we had to finish it, I think 18th or better, we were in good shape, but not the way we wanted to finish that race.
How do you feel now? You've got two chances. Do you like either one of them better than the other? How do you prepare the two of them?
You really expect me to answer that?
I do.
Well, listen, both of them have had a great year. When you look at William has won 6 races and Kyle 4 plus the All-Star race. We've taken 2 good cars, and William won that race in the spring. So we're just happy to be in the race. We're happy to have 2 cars going out there to race for the championship. Both cars have run good all year, and I hope that one of them can win. And I don't see that either one has any more advantage over the other guy, because if anything, William did win the spring race. So, but that doesn't make any difference when you go back. So I think our guys are prepared. We're going to go out with the best cars we have, and a lot of attention to detail, and try to execute a race without any mistakes. And that's what you got to do. I mean, you got to have to have good pit stops, and cautions have to fall the right way. You can be a dominant car and not win this race. So we just got to run the race. And just, again, when you start the year, you want to try to get cars to the championship 4. And when you can get 1 or 2, you've had a great year. So very happy that we're going to be there with these 2 guys, and we'll see how it works.
Great. Thanks, Rick.
All right. Our next question will go to Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Rick, there hasn't been a driver raised in North Carolina who's won a championship since Dale Jarrett in '99, as far as the Cup side goes. I'm curious, William could be the first since then, and does it matter?
I think to have a guy like William that grew up here in Charlotte, that is kind of a native of the Charlotte market where all the teams are based, I think it would be a great message for him to win the championship. But, I don't think where you're from makes any difference, really. Where you live now is what counts. Kyle's here, and Blaney's here, and, it's and now Christopher Bell's here. So it's maybe it's bragging rights for the states, but I don't see any difference. I mean, it's, they're all living here now and racing in NASCAR. So I think Williams' age, I think his story would be really a big story if you take a kid that didn't grow up in the sport, that had no connections in the sport, that was able to go to college and do all the things he has done, learning how to race on a computer. I think that is kind of like when Jeff Gordon came on the scene and opened the door for a lot of open wheel guys. I think what this can do for a lot of kids that are from anywhere in the country or the world that racing on a computer, there's opportunities to get in the right spot. So I think William is a great example for a lot of kids or young people that have a dream of racing in this sport, that, you know, he's seen that you can put those tools to work and accomplish something pretty spectacular.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take our next question from Claire B. Lane. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. Rick, do you think it makes a difference whether you've been in it before or won a championship before? You have, say, a William Byron that is relatively new to this, and it is such a big task, yet he's very talented. And you have Kyle Larson and, you know, folks that have been in it before. Larson's won a championship. Does that make a difference in your mind?
You know, I really don't think so. The nerves are there for both guys. I was just with Cliff out in the shop a few minutes ago, and you can see the intensity that's there. You say, well, you know, you've been there before. It's kind of the way this thing plays out. You got to go run one race, and once they strap in the car, everybody that's got a car in this race is going to do the very best they can to take the best car they've got with all the information that they can gather to be ready for this race. And I think, I don't think it's any more pressure for William this weekend than it was last weekend, and just trying to make it into the race. So I've seen Jimmy Johnson, after winning 4 straight, as nervous as he was, and Chad going into the next race. So I think the organization has the experience of running for a championship. So he's surrounded by 4 crew chiefs and 4 drivers and an organization that's been there before with Jeff Andrews, Jeff Gordon, and all of the folks that support the team. So I think we give them all the moral support, but preparation here and trying to call a good race and just execute. And I think when you look at Rudy, he's as good as there is in the sport, and so is Cliff. So I think that they're prepared, and once he straps in the car, I think getting ready to go, all the conversations and interviews going into the race, the pressure of knowing you've raced the whole year. And for William, he's raced his life, and here's a shot to win a championship. I mean, yeah, that's going to be more pressure, a lot of pressure, and for sure Kyle's won one, so it's not his first. But again, I watch these guys when they get ready to go into a one race deal. The nerves are there, and but once they get in the car, I think everybody will be ready to go.
I'm glad you said that about Jimmy and the nerves, because some had said that William, and no discredit to him, had a sense of panic almost on the radio, and that he almost panicked there. But that's what you get when you're thrown into that, and what you'll face coming up. He will not have to face the likes of Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin, and they're all relatively young guys. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, I think William is very mature for his age, and he's come a long way in a short period of time. And to be a champion at his age, or win more races than anybody has this year, shows his talent and the talent of that team. I think, you know, every experience is a learning experience, but I go back to watching Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson get ready for, luckily, I like the old, I guess this is not fair to say, but I like the old system better, where you can win at a race before the end of the year, and you don't have to go down to one race before cars. But we know that we're having to battle 2 really good teams with a lot of momentum. And, it's just an honor to be in it and to have the 2 cars in it. And I'm everybody gives Kyle a tremendous amount of credit as one of the best that ever sat in any kind of car. Williams kind of been under the radar for a guy that's won 6 races and, you know, had a chance to win the regular season championship. For him to accomplish what he has, he's kind of been under the radar. Nobody has talked about him a lot. And, but if you look at what he's been able to do, it's pretty impressive. And at his age, and the chemistry between he and Rudy, I think there will be a lot of championships in their horizon.
Thank you, and good luck, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire.
All right, our next question will go to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Hey, Rick, I'm just curious, going back to 2016 when you signed, August of 2016 when you signed William Byron, looking back at that point, you had Dale Jr. on your roster, and I know that was the season he was hurt, so Alex Bowman was running some races. You had Chase Elliott's rookie year, Casey Kane, and Jimmy Johnson. So you had a couple of young guys already, and you had Alex in kind of in place. What led to, you know, going after William? I know he was having that great truck season, but yeah, as you looked and planned, why did you decide to make the move at that point?
You know, the thing about William I was so impressed with was how quick he learned and what he did in late models and what he did and the you know, the legend cars, everything he got in. But more than anything, his determination to have a goal and go after it. I mean, what blew me away with William was the fact that he won that, I guess, the K&N Series championship, became an Eagle Scout, graduated Country Day, which is the toughest school, private school in Charlotte, took college courses at the same time, did all that in the same year. I remember a weekend, I kept up with William through my neighbor that was friends of his dad. He said, "Can you believe that kid raced on Saturday or Sunday, got in a car, went to the mountain, slept in a tent at 8 degrees to get his Eagle badge?" And when I looked at him and watched him and remembered what he did at JRM and how confident he was when he walked up to me one day when he was like 15 and said, "I'm going to drive for you one day." He just had the whole package. And I just felt like you put him in the right spot and give him time, he's going to develop into something really special, because he's a special guy, because he has got what drive and determination. You see him, you think he's a mild-mannered little guy, and he doesn't have, you know, he's not a killer instinct. His determination to succeed and his willingness to work hard and his willingness to put in the extra hours and to spend time in a simulator, and when nobody else wants to do it or they've done it, they don't need the time's open, he'll take it. His work ethic is so impressive, and I just felt like, you know, if he was in the right spot with the right people, he was going to do great things, and you know, it's turned out to be that way.
Were there reservations with moving him up to Cup in 2018, considering, look, he had great success at lower levels, so he'd shown some success, but obviously there's always the question, do you move somebody up quickly and throw them to the wolves and let them learn? And this is a tough place to do it, the Cup Series, or do you give more time to learn the trait? You moved him up quickly. Why so? And the reservations? Yeah,
well, you know what? I'm probably a little different from a lot of people. I think you can leave them in Xfinity too long. I think you know, you learn a lot, but if where you're going to spend your time, I look at Ty Gibbs as an example. Ty, it was ready for him, Ty, to move up. I mean, he won a championship. William did too in Xfinity. But if you're going to drive with those guys, you might as well put them out there and let them learn and know that they're going to make some mistakes and they're not going to be as aggressive. And William showed me again that he's willing to give take what the car will give him and learn. And when he makes a mistake, his restarts weren't that good, and things he had to learn to pass. He had to get the respect of all the guys out there. But, you know, I kind of done it with Chase, did it with Jeff, did it with Jimmy, and Our kind of track record has been, if the guy's got talent and he's spent a year or two in Xfinity and he's won and run up front, then if he's going to end up in Cup, put him in there and let him learn where he's going to be racing and gain the experience and get the respect of the guys around him. And William didn't come in roughing up people, or he raced everybody clean, and people have a lot of respect for him, and he's earned it. And I think, had it to do over, I'd do it that way again. And sometimes you might make a mistake, but if the guy's got talent, you might as well put him in the ring where he's going to have to live.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Our next question will go to Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey, Rick. Looking at Cliff Daniels, when the decision was made to pair him with Jimmy Johnson in 2019, why was he the right crew chief for Jimmy then and not necessarily the right crew chief for Jimmy when Chad moved on?
Oh, man, I think, you want a guy to mature, and you want to see what they can do. And you're a good team engineer, and you think you're ready, and you want to put them in the right spot. But I think, hindsight's pretty, it's easy to look back and say, wish I'd done it then. And knowing how good Cliff is, and how quick he learned, and how quick he matured, and how he became a leader, it was been so impressive. And hindsight, I probably would have done something different, but at the time we thought that was the thing to do. And it's just like, it's a crapshoot sometimes when you move a guy in the crew chief position that can be a great engineer, but can they lead a team? Can they lead people? And you don't really know that until you put them in that position, and then you see what they're capable of doing. Being a crew chief in this sport today is a lot more than just being a guy that understands a car. You've got to be able to lead the people around you. You have to have the respect of the people that are in the organization. You have to use all the tools that are around you, and it takes time. I'm probably slower moving a crew chief than I am the drivers, as we talked about a minute ago. But looking back, Cliff was, you just don't know how a guy is going to blossom as a leader. And I mean, that's the key in this sport, I think, for a good crew chief. I go back to Steve Letarte. Steve Letarte probably wasn't the smartest guy in the organization as knowing the car, but as a leader and as a motivator and as a guy that could make everybody from the pit crew to the driver to the engineers all work together, he was a master. So you got to learn you've got to be able to do all those things. And I think we probably that's one reason we didn't move him any quicker than we did. And that was probably a mistake.
And then when the decision was made to pair him with Kyle Larson, what was the impetus behind that decision? Even though, necessarily Cliff maybe didn't have the level of success you were seeking, prior.
Well, I think it was time to move him, and the opening was there, and bringing Kyle on. Kyle had a lot of experience driving all kinds of cars, and we felt like that was just a good combination at the time. And there again, did not know the leadership skills that Cliff had, and that we could see the drive and the desire, but he was a little bit more subdued as an engineer than he has been as a crew chief. So when you got a champion like Jimmy Johnson, you try to make sure that you put the right person with them, and you don't want to make a mistake. With Kyle, we just felt like Cliff had shown he was ready, and boy, that's an awesome combination, as it's proven to be. Two very Cliff is a very intense guy, and Kyle is a little bit of a laid back guy, but they click and they the marriage there has been a very good one, and they like each other, respect each other, and they want to work together. And that's the secret sauce in this business. There sometimes you put two together and the chemistry just isn't there, and it has worked with these two.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, our next question will go to Kelly Crandall. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you. Hey, Rick, you were saying a minute ago about how big a story you think William's story would be if he won the championship. You also expressed how impressive his season's been and maybe even under the radar. When you look at Sunday, if he's able to win the championship, do you think that would be just as big a deal that a driver who arguably has been maybe the best driver all season, when you look at the statistics, can cap it off and win the championship in this format, kind of like what Kyle did in 2021?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge story. I think William Byron's story in general is just a very impressive one, and I think the fact that he has had the kind of year he's had, and if he can go out there and win the championship at his age and his level of experience in the sport, shows his talent and Rudy's talent and their chemistry. And I think William is a good poster child. I won't say poster child, poster guy maybe, for a lot of young people that have ambitions to be in racing or any sport, that you want to work as hard as he's worked to get there. And with not a whole lot of help from a lot of different people. I mean, he did it on his own. He knew what steps he needed to take, and he did it. And super confident in his ability, and just a good person too. I mean, for a guy that represents the sponsors well, that squeaky clean, but aggressive when he needs to be, and just a good person. And you don't have to apologize for anything with him. And I think that's one of the reasons he's kind of been under the radar. He's not outspoken. He doesn't run his mouth. He doesn't go out and rough people up, and he's done it in a very professional way. And I think it would be a tremendous story if a kid that had started at 14 or 15 years old on a computer can end up marching through the Truck Series and Xfinity Series and then the Cup Series and cap off a year where he won more races than anybody did and win the championship. I think it'd be a really great story for NASCAR and a lot of the fans.
Thank you.
All right, our next question will go to Jim Utter. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
I'm sorry, I can't answer any questions from Jim Utter.
You're a bad man.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Jim.
So last year we had the introduction of the next gen car. Is this year the introduction of our next generation of Cup champions?
Well, I think this what kind of shows you is that I won't say anybody, but there's probably 10 or 15 guys out there in the right position that could be in this playoff and be one of the guys in the Final Four. You look at the talent of the people out there and the way this car is equalized the field. And on any given day, you see organizations that rise to the top, and they'll, Stuart Haas will be at 4 cars in the top 10, or Gibbs will have 3 cars and 4 cars in the top 10. Penske, all of us, and then all of a sudden you see Mike McDowell or people win races, and I think that it opens the sport up, and I think that's what Jim France wanted, and what NASCAR wanted, and the fans wanted to equalize the field and see multiple people have shots to win races. And I think this car is taking a lot of the engineering tricks or all the different things that teams were able to do to gain advantage away from everybody. And this is the car, we're basically racing the same car. When you look at the motors, they're all pretty close. I mean, they're within 3 or 4 horsepower of each other, from Toyota, Ford to Chevrolet. So the advantage in the sport today is pit crews, having a really good pit crew that's fast, calling the race and not making any mistakes. And how many times this year we've seen restarts where a guy's leading all day and then all of a sudden there's a caution that comes. Here's a restart, and the guy that was 6th or 7th ends up winning the race. I mean, that the wild card today is restarts and getting track position, and whether you get it with 2 tires, no tires, fuel only, whatever you do. We've been fortunate this year to win, like I said, 11 races, and in some of those races we were in the right spot at the right time. Some of the races we dominated, but I think what you've seen with all the winners and how many people were in the 16 car playoff. I think NASCAR is getting what they want with a car, and it's making the field more equal than it's ever been.
A quick follow up. Obviously, you're familiar with Kyle and William and believe that they could win championships, but I'm sure you're fairly familiar, obviously, with Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell. Any surprise for you that they've reached this point in their careers either?
No, not at all. I mean, Christopher Bell is a heck of a talent. I watched him in the sprints and the midgets and watched him race, and he's got an awesome amount of talent. And Joe Gibbs has got his organization is one of the best. And the same with Ryan Blaney. I think he's one of the most talented guys out there. And the Penske organization, Roger and Joe both are good friends of mine, and that they lack for nothing. I mean, they're the best, and Blaney is as good as anybody out there, and so is Christopher. So I don't know of any. I hate to have to race those two, but because they definitely are going to be hard to beat. But I'm not surprised at all that they're there.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
All right. Our next question will go to Trey Downey with MRN. Go ahead, Trey.
Hey, Rick, when Kyle won his championship a couple of years ago, we talked a lot about what it meant for the 5 car to be back to prominence. If Williams able to close it out and win the championship this weekend, it'll be 22 years since Jeff's last championship in that car. What would it mean for the organization as a whole for the 24 to be champion again?
Yeah, I remember when we won the 100th race with the 24. The 24, we won our first championship, and that's a number that everybody here is close to everybody's heart. So to see that car win again is super special. I think we've seen Chase win with the car number 9, that he means so much to him, and of course the 5 was our first number. Kyle's won a championship with it. To see the 24 back in victory lane and winning a championship with William, it's going to be special. I kind of know who Jeff Gordon's probably pulling for, but anyway, it is special because that number's meant so much to us, and of course what Jeff's done with it. So it would be very, very special to see the 24 in victory lane Sunday.
Thank you.
All right, Rick, thank you again for your time today. We really appreciate it. That's going to be all the questions we have time for today, but we wish you guys the best of luck this weekend in Phoenix.
Thank you.
All right, and to all the media who joined us as well, if you will hang on momentarily, I will work to bring Coach Gibbs into the room. I believe